Right, well here we are with another review. So just get into a comfortable position. What have we got in here then? Well, yeah, it's obviously not its proper box, but it's nicely wrapped up safe. Again, it's another visitor. And nicely wrapped up in bubble wrap. Yeah, bubble wrap always does the job well. Well. Here we have a Hornby 142 Pacer. Now, just like with the Sentinel shunter, I've always wanted to review one of these. Now, before we get into main details, I just want to point out that it's not. Make sure it's focusing. It's not a standard model. It's not in its original form. And what I mean by that is that, well, it's been painted. James didn't paint it. The previous owner, the previous owner of it, painted both cars. Now I think this is. I think you can tell by the under chassis and the wheels right there. See the old cog part there. I don't know why it's got the number 4 and 3 under it. But yeah, the previous owner has painted it the old Metro train livery, yeah, the carmine or crimson and cream livery. Yeah, I remember this livery well. I think it used to be in Arriva Trains livery, because if you just look there, right there below the doors, just look carefully, it's focusing, yeah, you can see what looks like a little bit of bluey green paint. I think this originally was a Lima Arriva Trains liveried 142, because even though when it was rebranded as Hornby, there wasn't really much change, was there? I mean, I don't know if they made a few like under chassis changes. Again, as IC82 points out in his review of his Arriva one, Arriva Trains livery. Of course, no working lights, and yeah, still quite basic. Of course, not much changed with this model at all, did it? Well, when it was rebranded from Lima to Hornby. And just have a look at the two ends. Do you notice a difference? Well, not in design obviously, but in colour. Also, yeah, that one's got like a destination thing. Well, like was it? Look at what? Well, a white little board thing at the top. This one hasn't. These cab ends are different. Now, I don't know if these are the same cars which came. Well, their roofs are pretty much the same colour, but I don't know if either this one or that one has had a new. Well, one thing I should point out. Yeah, that comes off very easily. I'm gonna glue that back on. It'll stay on, but it doesn't feel that secure, so I'm gonna glue that back on. But yeah, it's again, yeah, both cars painted. I don't know where I think it is a bit, because yeah, the same with this one. You can see, yeah, little bits of original paint, the Arriva livery, peeping through there from the bottom. I'd say the owner who painted it has done actually quite a good job. It's again, definitely not standard in its original form anymore. Well, yeah, a little bit of writing missing there. You can just see. Of course, yeah. What the Pacers in real life? They're starting to retire. Some of them now, from what I heard, the NRM's planning on having one. I can drive these on Train Simulator. I say they're good. I drive them a lot, but to get them up to a certain speed, you're full throttle almost. Well, I'd say you're full throttle by the time you're up to 25 miles per hour. Yeah, they're not the quickest, but there's something quite special about them. It's they are quite basic. I rode on one not long ago. Yes, they're not the most comfortable or refined, but hey, it's just part of them. Of course, it's the British Leyland bus. Like how they designed this, I saw a video a while ago. Basically, the chassis, the wheel part, the under chassis, was originally held like a large 4-wheel van, something like that. I'm sure they said basically you get the chassis, the under chassis like that from a large long van. For example, a bit like I've got that Hornby 2008, but yeah, I got that in 2008, God, 11 years ago. That is scary. Where has that time gone? But yeah, basically a chassis a bit like that. You slightly convert a bus body. Well, just take the wheels off and seal the wheel holes up, and just a few exterior changes. Place it on top, and there you have the 142 Pacer rail bus. So it's pretty clever how they designed these. So as I was saying, I don't know if these are the two cars which came together in the pack. Well, just the fact that this one has got a slight different, mainly different coloured cab end. But I don't know if the fact that it's loose might mean that it was just replaced, or if I don't know if something happened to its original one. But yeah, I'm gonna glue that back on. I'll do that I'll do that in a minute before we get her running. Again, just as IC82 says in his review, there's not that much detail to show, but again, you've got rivets going along the side there. Of course, the bus-style doors. Again, I just can't help but love these Pacers. And what's the company name? Put it in the comments if you know. Some company does an absolutely beautiful model of the 143, 144 Pacer. I've got those on Train Sim as well. I think they were just like a slightly, well, it must have been a slightly newer version of the 142, because the 142s are coming up 35, 40, 40 odd years old now, and yeah, their ends are drawing to a close, aren't they? Well, I'm actually hoping that they keep some of them running on like more shorter rural type lines. Well, I don't know, for example, just like short unelectrified branch lines, or if they put some on some reserve railways even. I mean, for example, like the Darlington to Bishop Auckland, they mostly run Pacers on there. The line from Preston to like Morecambe as well. I hope they still keep a few on there at least. Well, a few on the main line, because there's quite a few of them, isn't there? I mean, yeah, I don't think Hornby ever actually did a Pacer in this livery. Well, did they ever actually have the Pacers in this Metro livery? I can't quite remember. I remember seeing 158s and I think 144s in it as well. And but yeah, its previous owner, well, before James bought it. Well, if that previous owner did paint it, he's done a fairly good neat job. You can see along as sorry, that was the bit on the camera flinging open again. It's not a bother though, again, as I said, but just wait for it to come to focus there. But anyway, it's pretty neat along the top there. It is quite convincing at first. It's like when I first saw it, like when you first see this, you think it originally came in this livery. He's done a really, really good job. It's like you obviously have to look quite hard to notice any like tiny bits of the original Arriva livery just peeping through there. I mean, Hornby have done these, in Arriva. That's sort of yellowy, similar to like Network Rail colour. They've had a Northern Rail one out as well. So I'd say the Northern Rail one looks good. Again, in terms of detail, not much is the same, and there's quite a massive detail difference. There's quite a detail difference when you put it next to the 1/4 that was the 143 or 144, which is it Pecco? I really can't remember what company it is, but yeah, the detail on that is stunning. Okay, that's that cab end glued on. Just put a bit of super glue on it. Well, obviously it needs to be secure, like on this one. That should have held this. It's got super glue. Now, in terms of coupling the two cars together, now if you have a look at the contacts, it seems that they're bent a bit at the end, but when you couple it together again, I know it is quite fiddly. Just do it now, near 2 seconds. Hook it there eventually. Got it. There we go, coupled together. Now, those contacts, they are bent slightly, but they are making contact. Because, well, it must have been on the newer model, where again, you could easily bend those contacts when you push them together, like yeah, push the two cars together, or in the coupling part there, to the point where they won't be making contact, and she would run but would die over dead zones. But yeah, James has got points on his layout, and he says it's been running fine. Again, whilst they are bent, they definitely are. Just yeah, I don't think that's going to want to focus, or maybe just. But yeah, probably. I can see they're definitely making contact, so she should be okay, like running over points. Let's go have a look. Let's have a look now. Oh yeah, I'll just say quick. What I mentioned earlier. Well, that even though the Pacers' days, well, the end of their days is drawing near. Well, it's actually basically arrived now. Well, this year, or some of them going to continue running into next year, 2020. But I'm sure I saw on a news thing on Facebook that I don't know. Well, the first pacer has been retired. Apparently, something like that. Okay, well here she is on the track. I'm not quite sure how she's going to run. I haven't actually tested her yet. But let's see. Now she might be a bit temperamental or a bit rough because, well, often Lima motors are. Well, if she differs, well, she must be because again, this is like the original Lima model, and again, if any changes were made when it was rebranded as Hornby, I'm not sure. Again, put it in the comments if you know. But again, just like when IC82 runs his, she runs well once the contacts were sorted. She runs well, but doesn't really like lower speeds. It just sounds a bit rough and a bit stuttery. But let's see how she goes. Not too bad. Again, a little buzzy. Yeah, I'd say the smoother she sounds and runs, well, ever so slightly, the smoother she gets, the faster you run her, really. I mean, particularly older Lima motors don't really like going at slow speeds. Although my Class 40 here is, she's the only Lima model I own. I got her from new. She was on display in the cabinet when I got her in 2004. Yeah, I can go. Well, where's that time gone? But yeah, my Class 40 seems quite happy running at lower speeds. Well, a bit happier. She's flying over the points. No hesitation. The old pacer on my Class 40 on here as well. Yeah, which is about to pass. Sort of reminder of the days when you were starting to see more units and less local haul trains, really. And now the other way. I'm not sure if she's a slight bit more noisier this way, but again, she's running well. She's running well. Now, just in case any of you were thinking, if you're not sure what brand she is, check underneath. And yeah, I finally found. Yes, you just see there. If I was going to focus. Right there. Yes, Hornby, built in Britain. It just focused there. Yeah, it's the same for both cars as well. I was looking for some writing on the underneath. I looked a few times, but I'm more used to seeing it in the middle, like around here somewhere, not at the very end there. You could quite easily miss that, to be honest. Well, especially with it being black. So yeah, she's an old Hornby model. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure if you can actually. Well, when I mentioned maybe originally being Lima, it's maybe they weren't. I'm not quite sure. But again, of course, they have stayed in quite original form. These, there's been practically no detail changes. Maybe I don't know with slightly newer Hornby models of these. Maybe a few changes on the underneath. Like, I'm not sure if that cog's visible anymore because that was only visible on older models. But yeah, she's like the old Hornby Railways model. But
Again, that a motor sounds just like a Lima one, doesn't it? I mean, Hornby own Lima now, don't they? Anyway, something like that. They're kind of merged in. I don't think you can actually get a brand new Lima model anymore, or I don't know, maybe one that's not been well, maybe not brand new, but anyway, as I said, my class 40 was a brand new Lima model. I must have been lucky to get that one brand new. So yeah, my mistake. Well, if these actually first came out not as Lima but as Hornby models, but again, just very similar. And yeah, I guess this is the other car. Yeah, Hornby, built in Britain. But yes, again, I just expected the name brand to be more in the middle rather than there. I'd say often, well, particularly with an older model, well, until you do find the brand, well, company name on the underneath, again, well, especially with a model which hasn't had much changes over the years, it can be quite tricky to determine if it's like an older Hornby or Lima model, really. I mean, I just wasn't sure at first if she was old Hornby or Lima. Again, mainly because of a rather buzzy well, some like often older Hornby motors were more louder, weren't they? But the Lima ones in particular, yeah, she does. I mean, yeah, with it being quite buzzy, it's reminds me more of the older Lima motors. Wasn't sure at first until I finally found the brand name, well, the company name, well, Hornby underneath. Again, it's just in a rather strange, quite hidden place. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed this review. Again, it's been nice to finally review a 142 Pacer. Thanks for watching. I'll just say lastly, very quickly, yeah, so just using my phone torch here, just so you can see a bit better under here, but I thought, well, it turns out they have actually always been Hornby, the 142 Pacers, but I just wasn't sure at first, well, if they were like more, well, originally at first Lima again, well, it turns out they weren't, but again, mainly because, well, their detail still is quite basic, isn't it? Well, there's practically been barely any, if not no, detail changes since the model came out about 35 odd years ago, or 40 years ago now. It's just, well, because Lima have always been quite basic detail, haven't it? Well, now mostly it would be second-hand Lima models you get, but I mean, back in 2004 when I got this Lima Class 40, I suppose more than there was more chance of getting hold of a brand new or newer Lima model. Because again, my 40 is the only Lima model I own, and as you can see, the detail is quite basic. Well, it's still fine. She's still smart, obviously, and she runs really well. Again, they both sound very similar to each other. The older Hornby 142 Pacer. Yeah, again, I said that the motors do sound very similar, but as I was saying, detail-wise, when you put it next to, let's say, Bachmann's Class 40, there is quite a difference in detail. Again, yeah, of course, Lima, they never got as far as super detail like Hornby, Hornby super detail and Bachmann models as well. That's why I wasn't sure, because yeah, detail-wise they're both pretty much the same or very similar. You'd basically think that, well, if you put them both together, you'd probably think that they were both Lima models. And well, the 40, of course, is Lima. But basically, it's like, well, when I got her back in 2004, there wasn't quite as many, well, obviously not as many super highly detailed models as there is now. Yeah, well, since then, over the past 10 to 15 years, there's been a lot more. They've come on quite a bit, haven't they? Well, mainly in terms of detail. And of course, Hornby and Bachmann. Hornby and Bachmann, they've increased their detail on their models over the years, haven't they? I mean, when did Lima come out? Of course, my dad's still got a fair few old Lima models from like the 70s or 80s. So yeah, they were out a while ago. I mean, Lima, of course, they kept their detail fairly basic over the years, maybe a slight few improvements. But like, if you were to buy a fairly new or newer Lima model today, the detail would still be quite basic. But of course, as we all know, it's basically the same if you were to buy a brand new Hornby 142 Pacer, for example, like the Northern Rail one. It does look smart in that livery. I mean, I've been thinking about one. Well, mainly Northern Rail again, but mainly because the Pacers are approaching retirement now. Well, again, as I said earlier, a few are going to still be running until next year. But buying a brand new one, the detail would be pretty much the same as this older one. From I imagine, well,
I imagine it's from like the 1980s possibly, or early, maybe 70s. Yeah, really not much difference at all. Again, which is quite curious. I say this model has always well, it's always made a few of us quite quite curious in the barely any detail changes. Maybe the odd slight tweak, but just very slightly. Nothing you'd really notice massively, or you'd have to look you'd have to look very hard. So yeah, that's always been a curious thing. Still very good models. I still really like these again, despite barely any detail changes over the 35 to 40 30-40 years it's been out. But I'd say that makes them quite special as well. And just like, well, a little mini tribute to these trains